Good morning, folks. Duncan here. Sorry I can't be with you this morning, but unfortunately Sheena has COVID, and therefore I'm having to self-isolate with her. And given that I'm testing negative each day, I can tell you that's extremely frustrating. But there you go, such is life. So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about positive thinking. Okay. Now I don't know if you know, whether there's a guy called a mountaineer called Nirmal or Nims Purja. All right. He's a Nepalese-born British guy. He's been in the British Army, the Gurkha Regiment and the Special Forces, but more recently he's been known for his mountaineering. You may also know, if some of you are into this stuff, that there are 14 mountains that are over 8,000 metres. So there are 14 peaks that require you to get into the death zone. Now the previous record to climb these 14 peaks was 7 years, okay? But Nims Purja completed it recently in just over 6 months, which, as you can imagine, is quite remarkable. Shows extreme determination, drive, fitness and incredible resilience, as well as positive thinking. Now at the back of his book's called Project Possible, and I'd strongly recommend you reading it. It's fantastic. But at the back of his book he talks about lessons from the death zone, and one of them he talks about when oxygen was stolen. His oxygen supply was stolen when he was up the mountain. And it goes like this. He said, during my climbs on Everest, Lhotse and Makalu, my oxygen was stolen on the mountain. I'd asked for cylinders to be left at a number of camps, but as I arrived at each one it became clear that a lot of them had been swiped. At first I was furious, which was understandable given the circumstances, but it was really important to stay calm. Losing it would cause me to waste energy and maybe succumb to high altitude cerebral edema. A negative response, like a minor tantrum, could cost me dearly later in the expedition. So I calmed down and mentally turned the situation around. Rather than stewing in my own anger, I told myself that the air had gone to someone who needed it more than me. Maybe somebody had severe altitude sickness and needed my cylinders to save themselves, I told myself, even though it may not have been true. Yes, this was a lie in some ways, but it was a vital self-defence mechanism. If I'd sulked and moaned and worried about my circumstances surrounding my missing air, I would have wasted vital energy when I should have been concentrating on the mission ahead. Thinking positively is the only way to survive at 8,000 metres. Nobody cheats death by wallowing in self-pity. So I felt that in itself was a good message to deliver. But it actually reminded me of something else. It's probably 2 years ago, I was very lucky to be speaking at a conference, and I was on the stage with a guy called Gilbert Enoka, who many of you know is the psychologist or the mental skills coach for the All Blacks and has been for 20 odd years. And he presented about resilience and about positive thinking. There were loads of fantastic takeaways which you'll probably get to hear over the course of the next few education slots. But he talked about three things, three ways of thinking and acting that can boost resilience. The first one, he said, accept that shit happens. He said there's nothing you can do about it, accept that shit happens. It just does. You can't change the past, but you can change the way that you move forward. The second thing he said, resilient people are really good at choosing where to put their attention. All right? And related to that, the third thing was resilient people ask themselves, is what I'm doing right now helping or hindering me? And it was this last one that really resonated with me and is something that I've found really, really useful over the last few months. Is to think to yourself, is what I'm doing now helping or hindering me? Because if you're like me, there will be times that you might just be awake at night worrying, during the day stressing out about something, and you're turning over things in your mind. It never does any good, does it? You never really reach any positive conclusions. It's very easy to wallow in self-pity and negative thinking. So now I simply say to myself, is what I'm thinking helping or hindering me? About a couple of weeks ago, Sheena and I both woke up in the morning, and she said to me, I was up all night worrying about something, and I said the same. And I mentioned this to her, that I now say to myself, is what I'm thinking helping or hindering me? And she said to me, God, I wish she'd told me that, because it would have been really useful. So it just got me thinking that maybe I thought I'd just share that with you, because for me it was such a simple thing just to ask myself that simple question: is what I'm doing now and is what I'm thinking now helping or hindering me? Just remember, you can't plough a field by turning it over in your mind. Actions trump intent. Thanks, and enjoy the rest of BNI this morning.